Hi, Casey. How are you?
Hi, Claudia. Thank you so much for having me today. I am great and I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, likewise. It's just really nice to do these LinkedIn lives kind of during lunchtime where people can, when people can take a break, eat a sandwich, or have a second cup of coffee. So thank you for meeting me at this time. I'm going to just quickly introduce myself in case we have new viewers. I do a LinkedIn live. I try to do one every week. And so, thank you so much for joining me again. My name is Claudia Garcia. I am the CEO and founder of Royalty Medical Solutions. We are a staffing, search, and consulting agency. We work in healthcare with healthcare leaders, helping them grow in not just in their career, but also grow their teams. And so, that's why I thought you would be a great fit for a LinkedIn Live to have this conversation with you about how we can create some team alignment and how we can help our leaders navigate people. So thank you, Casey. Your coaching company is Heiden Coaching, correct?
Yep, Heiden Coaching.
Awesome. So how did you get started? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, of course. So about 6, 7 years ago now, I was working in a nonprofit, and my role was sort of other duties as assigned, helping the C-suite really fill some of those gaps that you have a project and it's maybe more robust than makes sense to hand off to a full-time employee, but it's also big enough that like somebody needs the attention on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so one of my roles was to really look at the culture of the organization. And that's how I went to my Clifton Strenghts coaching and got my certification. And I had the privilege of coaching all of my colleagues, all of the leaders. And then a couple of years later, as the pandemic was happening, and there was really this yearning in the world for connection and development. That's when I started just sort of freelance coaching for online, helping teams connect, helping teams understand each other virtually in that environment. And it just sort of has snowballed from there. Um, and it's been a lot of fun. There are a lot of people who want to be a unified team. They want to accomplish big things together, and they just need to learn how. And so I get the opportunity to help them navigate that.
Oh, that's awesome. So what I guess before you started in corporate America, what was it that was inside of you that said, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to do this. I want to go out into the marketplace and help people outside of my 9 to 5.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is recognizing that there's a problem and you have the solution.
Mhm.
Um, I am extremely gifted in just really connecting with what somebody's unique talent is and how we can utilize that to accomplish a goal. And I didn't realize that that was something that not everybody could do. And it wasn't until I hired my first coach and I would sort of share these insights that I had that I realized that this is something that people need. Like people want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, and more importantly, in a team environment, they need to understand and appreciate each other if they're going to be a strong and successful team. So it was really just identifying that I had something that people really, really needed to make their lives better. And once you have that feeling, it's almost I don't know, it almost feels irresponsible to not become an entrepreneur at that time and to not deliver services for people or offer services that will make their life better.
Yeah, so that's what I would say is like your calling, right? You have this calling on your life and you know what it is. And a lot of us we run from our callings because we think we're not prepared enough or we're just not equipped, but we really are. So our experiences really equip us to to then roll with that calling and get out there and help people and serve people based on what our experiences are. So yesterday I posted about a little bit about that, talking about what have you learned in your career that is now equipping you to do the things that you need to do and to get your next opportunities? So I love that you hired a coach and then you started coaching. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're doing for your clients? I understand that you're utilizing, what is it, the Clifton Strengths? Yeah,
Yeah.
can you tell us about that?
Yep. So my area of coaching really focuses on um, taking any sort of friction and turning it into traction. So that might be one-on-one in a leadership role, or it might be with an entire team. Um, One of the things and one of the principles that I find that is helpful for leaders in order to navigate challenges with their team is creating this common language based in positive psychology. And that's exactly what Clifton Strengths does. It's a self-assessment where individuals get to stand up and say, hey, this is why I'm at my best. This is how you can get the best of me. And here are the words that matter to me. And then we can sort of create a framework for each unique team of, okay, if we're trying to move in the same direction, how do we honor each other's strengths and get the best out of each other? And so that's where having a tool like Clifton Strengths is really impactful in a team setting. Because one of the things when we think about unity, if you were to like Google unity real quick, it talks about unity of place, unity of time, unity of action, and taking a thing that's complex and making it whole. And sometimes we forget that everybody else is living a different life. They have access to different information, different
Mhm.
experiences. So the words that we use every day take on a little bit of a different flavor for each person. And using some of these tools can help to simplify and provide that clarity.
That's so great. I think every leader needs something like this because a lot of times we get thrown into leadership and then it's like you know how to do this job so you now are going to move into this role and now you have a massive team. That's actually happened to me where I had this massive team and I had absolutely no training in management, right? So this is so great. I think that knowing that everyone has unique strengths, and not only that, but the way that we receive information is so different. So it's really important for a leader to know how to navigate all of these personalities. And so I think anytime you can hire a coach or bring somebody in to teach these types of things, I think that's so great. I had never heard of Clifton Strengths until you told me about it. And then I started to do some research and I'm just like, everybody needs this. I needed this. So you have worked with, and we connected talking about healthcare. You've worked with a state health department and you went in and did some things for them. Can you tell me a little bit about why they called you, why your services, were needed and how you created some transformation there and helped their team?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Um, they at that time were going under a massive restructure. So people's roles had slightly changed. They had moved responsibilities from one team to another team. Some teams were still retaining. They were in a great deal of change and transformation. And as we all know, like in healthcare, we are actually dealing with life and death for some of these other areas where you can afford to get things wrong. And what was happening in this specific situation is that some of the members of these teams had been there for so long and they were so invested and they cared so much, but there wasn't a space that was created for them to really understand or articulate why something was important to them, what they wanted to make sure was happening. And it was less of a I'm right, you're wrong perspective, and it was more of a I want to make sure that this task is getting done a certain way so that way our clients are served best, right? So that way our patients or our people in the community are served the way that our mission and purpose says that we want to serve. And so we had the opportunity to come together and really work with not only the top managers, but the next line managers to help them understand some of the principles of how people navigate change. We really talked about there's this thing in your brain called the reticular activating system, which is if one of your friends drives a white vehicle or gets a brand new white vehicle, all of a sudden you see those white vehicles come
Oh,
around,
yeah.
right? So they're always there. Your brain is just telling you to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So we really lean into how you can utilize that as a team and train it to recognize the talent in your teams, how you
Yeah.
give feedback to motivate the team, and how you can stop and ask a really good question to save time to get, again, that point of unity towards action, which I know sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like it takes a lot of time to get to. But when you actually set aside an intentional day for a retreat, a couple of times during the year for some intentional training, that reticular activating system clicks into
Mm.
place. And that's why we see almost always the teams report about a 33% improvement in any metric that they're following after they have received group coaching, because everybody's brain is just clicking on that positive psychology and working together.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's awesome. That's so true. When let's say you're shopping for a car, all of a sudden you never noticed the car. All of a sudden it's everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been there. And our survival brain has been taught to look for the negative things, right? So that's why
Mhm.
people naturally look for, oh, is this going to work? Oh, is somebody actually going to pick up? And so they're genuinely trying to be a good teammate by asking some of these questions. But when you can get people on the same page sooner, you can replace that ooh feeling with, okay, I know that this is that person's process. Like, I have faith, I have trust. I know that I can follow up with them in this way to make sure that it's getting done. And it just makes the world of difference in how smooth that change can actually feel for people.
That's amazing. I think that's the thing about communication. It really, if you're able to have somebody facilitate a group, like you said, a retreat or a seminar, conference, some time together to really communicate the changes. And a lot of times the changes are non threatening, but employees will see change and go, oh no, what's going to happen. And there's some discomfort that takes place. Then people's personalities start to change and we don't know why, but there's a reason why. And it's simply because they haven't been communicated that everything's going to be okay. Like, you're good, we're good. We're simply making some changes that's going to benefit, in the end, benefit the entire organization, including yourself. So, now, in regards to how companies find you, and are organizations looking for this type of help? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. What is so interesting is during some of these times of uncertainty, you would think that people would cut back on some of their training. But what I find is that the companies and the departments with leaders who really, really get it, they understand that their people are their competitive advantage in business. They understand that regardless of what industry you're in, you're providing a service, selling a product, you're interacting with people, with clients. And so
Yeah.
the ones that prioritize this, especially in times where it feels like it's a competitive environment or the economy might be doing whatever,
Mhm.
um, those are the teams that we see actually take off and take advantage of the chaos.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, I always say it's because everybody else is freaking out. And so if everybody else is freaking out and you're the person that is like clear and steady and you have a team that is engaged, that's going to be more magnetic for your clients because they feel safe and secure, and they feel like that they can trust that this is a good investment for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think if, as long as you're making your team feel secure, then you're gonna have less of that freaking out. So, and
Mhm.
it definitely, I think you should step up your the coaching, as well as develop not career development, but team development within an organization when times are uncertain, when everyone is feeling a little fearful of the future. And we're starting to see a lot of that. You see people post and what they say, and that they're a little worried. But So you're doing a great job. I would love for you to share with our audience how they can hire you, how they can bring you in. And we have a lot of leaders. Well, my network is full of healthcare leaders. And I know there's a need within the healthcare organizations for this type of help. So, can you tell me how they can reach out to you and what the programs look like? Are they
Yes.
workshops? Are they seminars?
Yeah, great question. So the first of all, my number one strength is individualization. So I always say if there is an opportunity to customize it to make it fit better for you, then it will make my heart light up to be able to do that. LinkedIn is the best way to get in contact with me, just a simple DM, and then we can exchange messages or jump on a Zoom call and really understand the nature of your organization and what the challenges are. A lot of times when I'm coming into an organization, they will ask me to do a kind of retreat style workshop facilitation,
Okay.
as well as having some follow-up conversations with the leaders of those teams, um, so that your retreat doesn't just become an event. You know, if you're really trying to make culture your competitive asset, it's figuring out how you can start to utilize this information, how you can learn about your people, and then take that into your one-on-ones or how you communicate with the team, and just be very mindful of it.
Yeah.
And so I've done everything from 6 months coaching with your C-suite team to another half-day retreat just with the leadership team, so that way they can ask questions and we can really dig into making this something that's not just, again, an event, but a transformation for the organization. So there's a lot of a variance in it. The longest that I've worked with an organization is on a 3-year retainer to get through the entire organization to deal with this.
Wow.
And I've also worked with people over the course of a month in order to get the retreat kind of set up and then work with their individual teams.
Oh, that's awesome. So, are you mostly working with large organizations? Are you going after corporate clients? Are these big, small?
Yeah, great question. I say that my qualifier is that you have to believe that your leadership can be an asset. So I've worked with a team of 5 entrepreneurs, kind of like a startup environment before, and I've worked with a team of 500. And the nature of the delivery is a little bit different, but the principles, the actual principles of how you communicate to your people, what they value and what's important, and then how you can take and utilize that information next is scalable. So it can be adjusted for any size team. And there is a way that we can make this work for your team based off of what you need and what your immediate goals are.
Awesome. So you customize the program for each business. That's
Absolutely.
great.
And that, like I said, that just like makes me so happy. I don't know that I've ever delivered the exact same program twice. It's always been tweaked depending on, who's in the room, what your challenges are, and what are important for your business, right? What are the important metrics for you?
Yeah. Now, using Clifton Strenghts, what is that? Is it a survey? Is it a test? Can you
Yeah,
share about how you utilize that program?
absolutely. So Clifton Strengths is a self-assessment that puts into rank order 34 talents of how you find excellence. So it's a self-assessment. It's kind of an online timed product. Feels like a sort of like a quiz, but it's sort of here's a statement. Do you strongly agree or strongly disagree that this describes you? Once you get those results, the individual who's taken the assessment almost immediately gets to read their report. And then we just send some pre-retreat information for people so that way they can choose to read through it, highlight, share information if that's the way that they operate. Or if they're going to show up the day of and have never looked at their report before, we can give them some instructions as well. But it's an online assessment that measures excellence. And the really cool thing about that, especially for the leader, is that because it's a self-assessment, almost always people show up to that retreat and they're like, yes, this is 100% me. Like, absolutely, this describes me. And you can immediately then utilize some of the language in that report to give that feedback, to give powerful recognition. There's an engagement statistic out there that says, I think it's 23% of people strongly agree that they have received um, positive feedback about the quality of their work in the last 7 days. Only 23%. And by increasing that, you almost get an immediate 80% improvement in your engagement score by just
Wow.
moving one person. Like getting one person to buy into it, you get this huge return on investment. And again, because you're connecting with that part of the brain where it's like, yep, this is me, this is how I'm great and excellent, you can quickly communicate to that too.
Well, that's really cool. I'm gonna have to take the test and
Yeah,
see what it
absolutely. Let's do it.
says. See what it says. All right. So, really quick before we close out the call, I'd love to hear some personal stuff. I heard, you told me you own a bar, and can you tell you have an amazing, beautiful dog I saw the other day on camera. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know who Kaise is?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, yep, I live in Vermillion, South Dakota, with my wonderful husband and lovely daughter. She's 4, so we're in
Oh.
all sorts of questioning creativity right now, which the coach in me absolutely love. The coach in me is like, oh my goodness, how is your brain working right now? This morning she asked me why we can't breathe on other planets. I'm like, where did this come from? Um, so I just get really, really excited about that. My husband and I own a bar in town, and then we've also both work and support our local university as well, and just try to be active participants in the community. I like golfing, although I'm not great at it, and I am truly like a professional development nerd. So much so that I will read fiction books and I enjoy them, but I have to be able to do it on vacation when I can just unplug my brain because otherwise my like body just craves reading or listening to something else that's sort of that kind of professional development, leadership development mindset. And it's just the thing that, like you said, like when you're called to it, when it just pulls you in, you can't help but look for it. So
No.
definitely a balance of socializing and nonstop developing.
Yeah. And you and I like some of the same coaches podcasts that we listen to, YouTube channels like Myron Golden and the Sales Girls. So we have that in common. That's actually how we found each other, I think, right? On one of the posts on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The sales girls are actually coaches and mentors of mine, and I have learned so much in the art and principles of persuasion that then get applied to leadership skills, and not just persuasion in a kind of icky sense, but
Yeah.
truly, truly understanding where the other person is coming from, understanding what they want and what they need, so that way you can guide them to the best potential outcome for them. And some of those principles have just like made a difference in the way I parent, right? Like when we're potty training or trying to eat a vegetable, when we're downtown at the bar and helping patrons there, like whatever it might be, that ability to see things from another person's lens and then guide them to a mutually beneficial point is just such a gift.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I love watching them. I'm sure you're enjoying being coached by them. And so I also have a little girl. So I know what you're talking about with the questions. It's like all day long.
All day long,
The
all
other
day
day
long.
we
It's
had
so fun.
the other day we had the funniest situation. So she said, "What is a psychic?" And I was like, "A psychic?" I was like, "Where did you hear that?" And if I'm like, "Well, honey, we're we're Christians. We don't do the psychic thing." And my husband's all, "She said sidekick."
Yeah, yeah.
It was the funniest thing. I was like, "Oh, a side kick," and then so then she goes, "Wait, so what's a psychic?" So
Yep. So then you keep the curiosity. It's
so
so
now I'm
fun.
like, I opened up a Pandora's box on something she wasn't even asking about because
Yeah.
I thought she said
Well,
psychic, but she was saying side kick.
100%. And that just goes back to the way like human brains work. And
Yeah.
I always give other moms the example when I'm coaching them of your daughter comes in and she's so excited to tell you a story, but she can't quite get the words right out of her mouth. And
Uh-huh.
the more you repeat back the wrong thing, the more she's frustrated because it's not what she's saying.
Yeah.
And then, grandma or grandpa walks in and they give you that like little bit of missing context. And all of
Uh-huh.
a sudden you're like, oh, and she lights up and is so excited. And like that happens as adults too,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
depending on your perspective and what your experience is, you hear somebody say, hey, this is what we need to do. And you start to think that this is the way that you're going. And then they get frustrated because you just are like, passing each other by. And so learning how to communicate and slow down and ask a couple of clarifying questions can can really help to expedite people's progress and build those relationships and help make people feel excited and
Yeah.
enthusiastic, like just like your 4-year-old coming home and being like, yes, this is exactly what I did today. Isn't this the coolest thing ever?
That's so funny. So imagine how many leaders are, missing their, what their team is saying. One is saying sidekick, the other one is saying sidekick.
Yep, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so much fun raising little girls. I raised three boys, and they're adults now. And then we had a little girl in our 40s, actually. So everything is new. Everything is with a fresh perspective. It's such a beautiful world to be in a little girl's world. It's been so much fun. And yeah, so congrats to you for having a little girl because they're amazing. Boys are fun too. Boys are fun too. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun raising three sons, but it's really nice to have that. I told my husband, now I finally have somebody on my team because it was always like, they wanted to watch TV. It was like the boys stuff. We had to watch baseball and football, and now it's like, let's watch some girl stuff. We're watching homestead videos and cows and goats on TV.
And we went like flower picking the other day.
Yeah, yeah, gardening, and yeah, she's just loving it. So, and I'm just enjoying the time with her. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great time having you here, and we'll have to do this again and maybe dive deeper into some of the great things that you're doing for organizations. If anyone is listening to this, I can't see the comments. We'll check later. But if anyone is watching the recording and you would like to connect with Kaise, we're going to go ahead and drop her LinkedIn profile in the comments. And so you'll have a way to connect with her. You can DM her for more information about how she can help you become a better leader and help your team just get excited and get everyone on the same page. So
Yeah.
thank you, Kaise. Have a wonderful, what is it today? Wednesday already. Jeez, it's
Yep, we're there.
flying by. Well, thanks so much for hanging out. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye. Let me see if how I could end the stream.